Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Izni bin Mursidi 1816547. Today I'll be presenting about the Islamic and conventional side of public finance and the theories and opinions stated by the scholars of each side. So, public finance is the management by the government and semi-agencies of a country's revenue and expenses. The main components of public finance includes revenue collection, social support, and the implementation of funding policy. And these three main components include taxes that is collected and raised by the government. Meanwhile, in Islamic terms, public finance is closely associated to Islamic socio-economic objectives. It is found mainly in the Quran and Sunnah, where these guidelines are found. Like other aspects of the Islamic economic structure, the Islamic fiscal system is neither rigid or static, and has the potential to meet the various demands of different times. Islam seeks to create a just and humane socio-economic order that should be free of all forms of exploitation and allow people on this planet to live a life full of peace. Moving on to the background of public finance in Islamic and conventional terms, the study of public finance dates back to the early Islamic period. We're noticing some 15 centuries of books by early Muslim scholars on public finance. During the 2nd to 8th century, many public finance based books were written by the Islamic scholars, such as the famously known Kitab al-Kharaj by Abu Yusuf, that talks about a governing manual for the time for the Caliph Harun al-Rashid. This was the best known of the public finance books available, and was written by a top-ranking Muslim scholar. And then there was Kitab al-Amwal by Abu Ubaid, and then al-Ahkam by Abu Hassan. These books address taxation issues, public spending, and the role of the government. The principle of public spending in Islam is linked to the concept of maslahah, which is public interest. It is the maslahah of Islam and of the creatures of God that regulates all spending decisions. Even after the emergence of Islam, from the Quran and the Sunnah, Muslim jurists have derived the laws and the values to be followed in different areas of human life. Islam offers great versatility in the use of human reasoning to address newly emerging issues. The use of this reasoning by a jurist to locate solutions to new problems that keeps Islam intent and spirit in full view are known as ijtihad. Ijtihad methods include qiyas, ihtisan, and istislah. Jurist consensus on a specific approach to a particular solution is known as ijma'. It is predicted that the state in Islamic context will always give ijma' due regard when formulating its policies in different ways. On the conventional side of public finance, a vigorous debate of one of the key problems in welfare economics took place between continental writers on public finance for some 30 years, starting around 1880. The issue concerned the appropriate allocation of resources between the government and the private sector, and the ideal means of taxing individuals so that resources could be made available to the state. Way before all of that was happening, Greek ideology has had two main public finance positions. The first one was to provide for public consumption, which means that each city has its own theatre, great works of art were dispersed across the countryside, and there were annual festivals. And then the second role of the government was to raise and train soldiers and provide war finance, which would offer the city state both slaves and glory. Moving on to scholars' opinions and theories. Like I said, Islamic teachings do not recommend any rigid public finance structure and allow for a great deal of flexibility that are better suited to the achievement of Islamic socio-economic goals. Such teachings underline the duty of the state to maintain at least a decent minimum standard of living for all the people. Sadaqah and Zakat is one of the theories talked by several Islamic scholars. One of them is Ibn Taymiyyah. He stated that all Muslims have agreed that the disbursement of Zakat cannot be changed from the 8 group mentioned in the Quran. So from that claim, it appears that Zakat is the backbone of the Islamic economy's financial system and public revenue. We see that Islam prioritizes the welfare of the people. Meanwhile, another renowned scholar of economics, which is Abu Yusuf, also touches public finance in his famous book of Kitab al-Kharaj. He mainly focuses on tax issues, and he analyzed some of the major aspects related to public finance very intelligently. Abu Yusuf, like every Muslim scholar, highlights welfare of the state in every sort of aspect. Abu Yusuf understood that the state is essentially responsible for meeting the fundamental needs of all its people and for the general welfare. He emphasized that the state is accountable to its citizens for social and economic justice and the welfare of its people. Moving on to a famous scholar of conventional economics, which is Adam Smith. So his core argument is that the common good leads to self-interest. He means that if any common good is built upon, such as parks or facilities for the public, it will always end up being a self-interest. This is because he found that self-interest were powerful motivators of economic activity. Adam Smith favored laissez-faire in economics, but he also acknowledged a role in security, justice, and public works of government. Laissez-faire means that to restrict government intervention in the economy. Karl Marx, who is a known philosopher in economics and famously known for his socialist beliefs, believed that the state would vanish and lose its purpose, and the government has the tendency to yield brutal and dictatorial power. So to analyze, we can see that public finance differs from the Islamic and conventional perspective. Islamic public finance focuses on the welfare and socio-economic justice of its people. Meanwhile, conventional public finance focuses more on the public debt and revenue and spending of the country. Islam prioritized the principles of maslahah, which is public interest, so that the Islamic goals in Islamic public finance, where conventional public finance tend to go into personal and self-interest, as they think that self-interest without the government intervention is what drives the economy. However, there is some aspect where these two theories and terms meet, and that is in public spending. Public consumption in Islam and conventional has always been a priority for the people, even back in the days until the present. Unfortunately, we see many Islamic countries being so-called Islamic, but not practicing what had been thought in the past, such as taking care of the welfare of these people. We don't see that taking care of the people right now. So Islamic leaders should be braver to improve the Islamic law and show the true values of being a Muslim. Thank you. That is all from me. Assalamualaikum.